Hey, it's Sunday, August 28th, 2022. Um, Another show of Common Sense on Common Ground. This one's explaining quite a bit about the migrant situation that's going on here in Texas, where they're being bussed over to New York and Washington, D.C. Sorry, had to burp. Sorry about that. Um, get this. Um, big props goes to everybody that's covering all this stuff concerning the Trump scandals and the war on Russia and Ukraine and the social issues like banned books and CRT. These guys doing a great job looking after those situations, diving in depth and all this good stuff. And they're doing the same thing here with these with the busing of the migrants that are coming in on the border, and everybody's saying, "Well, Biden doesn't know what he's doing," and all this other crap. Look at the mess that's being made. Now, they've had a good point up until recently, when the problems started to arose. Okay, and what I mean by that. Sorry, it's still pretty damn hot down here in Texas. I got to keep drinking my fluids. Okay. And what I mean by that is that these little bitty problems, these little bitty things that are little considered bumps in the road, are starting to take its toll, and they're starting to add up to actual problems, and which leads to this particular article. Now, the whole thing is about problem. The article is covering one thing, but I'm going to be listing a couple of other things as we're going along with this article here. This is from the NewYorkPost.com Post editorial board. Okay, just something that somebody threw up there on the board. It's not a major cover story. It's nothing like that. It's just the ongoing crap that's going on, being detailed, ongoing information that's being going on, and of course here. With Chris's comments, the guy that's paid attention is sharing this info at the water cooler, the coworker. I'm that guy, I'm that guy at your bus stop that you see at the bus stop that has read into it and is sharing this information. That's all that I am. I'm just the guy that's relaying the message, but I'm your guy here, and I'm going to start off by reading what's going on as to why it looks like such a mess, but even though technically it's really not that big of a deal, despite the fact that there are complications with it, and they have to be, and they will be settled. Okay, here we go. The article reads, New York City needs info on immigrants now, or faces being totally overwhelmed. Now, you've heard me complain about everybody that's saying they're overwhelmed. It's an invasion. They're overwhelmed. Yeah, but this is a different type of overwhelm over here at in New York and in DC. Here we go with the article. New York City is now using 14 hotels to shelter illegal immigrants. City Hall's estimate of new migrant population up 50% in 1 week. At the very least, the city needs to get a handle on what's ahead. It's not just those Texas buses. The feds and various charities are bringing migrants here too, and some are likely coming on their own, but none of them are systematically providing or collecting much information to help the city plan. Here we continuing further, and I'll get to that. I'll get to that right now. We got the feds, which I'm assuming is federal agencies like, Immigration and Border Patrol, that are busing them, and various charities such as Catholic Charities DC, Bellevue Men's Shelter, Team TLC NYC, Grannies Respond, and South Bronx Mutual Aid. For right now, those are the only various charities that I can find. Each of them have their own different type of services. The Bellevue, for one, is men's only shelter. Catholic Charities, Team TLC NYC, and others. Some of them can only really bring like clothes to them extra clothing to keep them, to change and all this good stuff. Others are actually doing food drives. And then there's some that are actually putting money in hand so they can reach their final destination. And that, which, like, as I've stated before in previous posts, they're not supposed, some of them already had a plan to be in Chicago. Some of them had a plan to be in Maryland. Some of them had a plan to make it to family members that can hook them up with a job in Miami. Some of them had plans to be farm workers in Alabama, South Carolina, and Georgia. Sorry about that. Some of them already had farm workers, crop working to be done. But instead, they're getting bused all the way to New York and DC, where some charities can actually help them out with bus tickets down to the areas that they were already planning to go to. And a lot of them are likely coming on their own. None of them as systematically providing or collecting much information to help the city plan. Honestly, I think they are collecting. Remember, Greg Abbott here in Texas has this huge problem of appointing DPS and CP, Texas Public Safety and Border Patrol and all them to do nothing but data collections. Okay? To do nothing but, what's your name? What are you here from? What country are you from? All right, now get in the damn holding facility. So, no, I don't believe that for a fact. But that's just my business. It's one of the biggest complaints that I've said about law enforcement, from local law enforcement to state agencies, that they're doing. They're too busy being clerical data people. And now we're finding out they're being bused to New York and DC, but they're not giving them the information that they need. That very same information that they data collected when they first apprehended the asylum seekers when they crossed the border. So no, that's a bunch of BS. They were right when they said none of them are systematically providing much information to help the city plan. Okay, that part is true. This whole bizwax, well, are you even collecting the data and all this stuff? They are, but they're keeping it here in Texas. They're keeping it in Arizona. They're keeping it in all these other states where they're not, and they're not providing any kind of information. They're just loading up the people that they already processed and sent them straight to NYC. Another reason to vote against the current administrators, okay? Another reason to vote here in Texas against Abbott, even for Beto, where a lot more progress is being done and will be rewarded for us once we see them get together with the agencies, get together with the current presidential administration. Once they all stop with their crap and actually work together and start working like a team, we're going to see a well-oiled machine and all this good stuff taking place, where this migrant problem, what migrant problem? But for right now, there is problems. One of them is that the information about these migrants that they've come collect data off of and everything, it's not being shared with those in NYC and DC, because it's just a way for our current state governor to say, look at the mess that all those people are dealing with, and then they're over here judging us. Well, they can still judge you. You're not helping them out. You're not collaborating. You're not cooperating. And Governor Greg Abbott isn't cooperating, isn't collaborating, isn't providing any kind of information on these migrants that are being bussed over there. That they're telling that they're making New York City and DC the final destination when they already have destinations in various parts of the U.S. So again, it's a minor problem, but as you can tell, it's adding up in a very big way. It's adding up. It's starting to be a problem in a very big way. And if you're not noticing this, you're forced to listen to somebody like Greg Abbott and anybody that opposes Biden and say, gosh, maybe they're right. Maybe this is something that's going on. No, it's not what's going on. What's going on is the data collection that, while smugglers and traffickers are getting through here in Texas, is being withheld while they're busing the asylum seekers that haven't been trafficked to New York and DC without any of that information that they collected here to over there. That's the problem, okay? And it's just one problem. Let me continue. Although City Hall's estimate is based solely on the numbers who've entered the public shelter system, the Department of Education is trying to assign the migrant kids to schools, but how many are actually being overlooked? Which, it's not just the kids. There are mothers and parents that are supposed to get proper meds and medicines, as well as get their kids to the schools. You know, but again, without that ID, without that data that my state is hanging on to and not sending to New York or DC, along with the migrants that they bust up there, you know, it just stalls progress in recovery and rescue efforts and rehabilitate into whatever destination they're supposed to go. Technically, we were supposed to bust them to their final destination. Texas was supposed to bust them to the final destination from the very beginning, instead of just sending them up to New York and dropping them off in DC, teaching Biden a lesson and all that other babbling bull crap. Okay? No, the fact of the matter is that they're being sent up there. No data, no accurate data about these people concerning each and every one of them is being sent up there. They're all kept over here. And the proof of the fact of the matter is that, you know, the law and the agencies here in Texas that was supposed to be providing asylum and all that were not, because they were all under scrutiny and under horrible conditions by state troopers, Texas Public Safety, and a few others of the Border Patrol, but also the Texas National Guard and various other local law enforcement that were collecting data instead of stopping traffickers, that were abusing the migrants instead of sending all the data that they gathered with those migrants, where those same migrants could actually file reports about abuse and even in some cases sexual trespasses. Okay, this is the reason why, because it's all part of the cover-up. It's all part of the covering up of all the horrible things that they're doing, while at the same time blaming something like asylum seekers as invaders, dumping them off at DC and saying, look at the mess that the president is making. That's what's going on with this stuff. And to top it all off, without all that identification that they already built here in Texas that should have been sent over there, it's a process that has to start all over again. And it complicates everything. And then to top it all off, they have to be held into asylum over there because of it. Because of the lack of identification that should have been sent over there with them from Texas, from Arizona. Moving on to the article, another wrinkle. Many of these folks will be looking to find work when city employment hasn't recovered from COVID lockdowns, and exploitation of illegal migrant workers is an ongoing nightmare. And this is true. Without that ID, they can't get work. You know, it's that same old cliche. The same old cliche that migrants always have. The illegals that hang around at Home Depot and all this other garbage, you know, some of them even have identification. They're just not American citizens yet, so they have to offer their services. And for some odd reason, everybody's sort of overlooking that. And I'm guessing because of the simple fact that, yeah, they're just going to go over to a street side or a Home Depot store or whatever and offer their employment uses to bosses. So yeah, I mean, it's just another wrinkle. It's another problem that goes on. And you know, let me continue. Mayor Eric Adams has no desire to slam President Obama over the way the border mess is spilling over here. Over here being New York, preferring instead to trade barbs with Governor Greg Abbott. But he can demand that Biden administration and all relevant nonprofits start sharing information on who they're bringing to NYC, New York City, so that the city can at least plan on how to handle the tide. Okay, props goes to Mayor Adams for not joining the crap that that Abbott is saying, instead preferring to trade blows with him. Okay, he doesn't want to slam President Biden for the mess that's going on, but he prefers, but he can demand that he and the nonprofits start sharing information, which again, it's not so much the organizations and nonprofits and Biden are not sharing the information. They're sharing information just fine. It's Governor Greg Abbott who isn't. It's the DPS who's on Greg Abbott's leash that isn't. It's Texas National Guard who are Abbott's bitches, that are not sharing information. It's not so much Biden and the agencies. The agencies could step up, though. I agree with that part. Okay, respect goes to for Eric Adams for not dodging the problem at hand. And respect goes to him for demanding that shared information is important information, so that way they can handle the thing, especially if they want to be, what do you call it? Cities that, God bless America. I am just on blank today. I had my second cup of coffee. I don't know why it's so hard to remember. Sanctuary cities, especially if whatchamacallit wants to be a sanctuary city, no different than San Antonio. I think the difference between San Antonio and New York City is the distance, and the fact that as soon as they're apprehended, they're already processed, like here in San Antonio and stuff. It's just easier for us to do down here. So yeah, back to the kids, the migrant kids, the schools, the parents not being able to get the whatchamacallit, and all this good stuff. Some of them systematically provided or collected, not providing or collecting much information to think. It's not that the data isn't being collected, it's that it's not being provided. Because once those migrants have a name and a face to their voice, that's when they could start speaking up about the acts of cruelty that took place in captivity. Sounds familiar? Yes, it does. And with good reason. I have to bring it up again. 2018, Southwest Key Australia caught on surveillance, dragging, slapping, and even shoving migrant children against the wall. And there's security footage, out for the public to. Unless it got removed for some reason or another, petitions and all this stuff. You got people like DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, directing FEMA to southern border amid the influx of unaccompanied children. The administration, they can't get the children locked up out of their holding cells fast enough. A bunch of little stuff like that. Sexually trespassed kids. Not just kids, but people as well. There's been abuses, beatings, unhealthy, unconditional holding facilities. And it's every time they're in those positions, whenever they're set free, they now have the opportunity to speak up and fill you in on what's going on. And what's going on is that they're being treated horribly. But they can't do that when they have to start, when New York and all them have to start all over, and taking the names and verifying where they came from, and making sure that they're not criminals or even infected with some kind of virus or anything else, be it tuberculosis or any kind of other diseases, that could be contagious. So yeah, I mean, it's incredible. You get those processed, and you get the names, and then come the the testimonies of how bad they were being treated, and from October 2014 to 2018, July of 2018, from the time that Obama was in charge all the way to the time that Trump was in charge, 4,500 plus complaints of sexual assaults and abuse of immigrant children were happening in those government-funded, in some cases, detention facilities. 178 claims alone were committed by adult staff members, and they were the rest out of that was 178 out of 1,303 cases where the staff members were saying, well, those 1,303 cases were actual minors being violated by other minors. And that's just so stupid to this day, given the horrible conditions that they were in. They were freezing, they were malnourished, they were given those thermo blankets, which can retain heat, sure, but once that heat is gone, once your body heat is gone, you're back to freezing, and they were lying on the floor. In most cases, they had one meal a day. They only had one bathroom trip to making the rest of the day uncomfortable. And lights were always on. There was never a period of time where they could get any kind of darkness to where they could actually get some actual sleep. And those that were sleeping were having their cages rattled, noises made by the facility owners, who are saying, wake up, what's the matter? You're here. I thought that's what you wanted. You're here. So why are you, what's the matter? You're here. What are you complaining about? Why are you crying? Why are you crying? And all this stuff. And those are some of the abuses that they had to go through, along with violations, sexual violations, in which they literally got away with saying, out of 178 claims, they got a chance to say, after 178 claims, the rest of them, which totaled up to 1,303 claims, only 178 claims were about adult staff members and their mishandlings, who all had excuses into saying, no, that's not true, and they all backed each other up. Nobody went to jail for that. But they were also claiming that out of the 1,303 cases, 178 made them guilty. The rest they claimed was violations, trespasses by other kids, especially the minors. The minors themselves were doing that, and this is out of a total of 4,500 plus within that 6-year time span or 4-year time span. That was sexual assaults and abuse. Those were 4,500 complaints and more in the detention facilities. Those complaints and everything that are more than likely still going on, these migrants, when they make it up to NYC and DC, they have to start all over again on voicing their concerns and telling them what happened. And I imagine, despite the fact that I really can't prove it, but I imagine that one of the ways that they can prove it is by having that information that was data processed sent up there, so they know where exactly they were coming from, which holding facility they were in, which if there was a number on each cell or cage, stuff like that. If what environment had an open warehouse, a former shopping center, former Walmart or former Kmart, gutted out and had all these little what do you call them? Those beds that fold, hammocks. Had them all in particular rows or whatever. All of those are little clues to say which holding facility they came from and what kind of abuse went on over there, and it also depended on, what guards had to keep them in check, batons, anything that can be used as a whip, anything can be used as a shield and baton, if not just guns, all of those little things can be clues as to finding out where those abuses took place, where those sexual violations took place, and who would be responsible, under what organization, with whatever employees that were assigned there. But absolutely no clues would be able to be ascertained immediately without that processed data that people like my governor had made those law enforcement agencies and statewide agencies, to do. They were tasked to do that. They did that. It was a complaint that I was stating for a very long time about how they were doing data processing while traffickers were smuggling humans, smuggling people across the border. This was what was going on for a good while. So to say that there's no data, there's no information, there's nothing about any of these people that they bust over there to, especially those that actually had final destinations, people to actually go to, family members and friends to actually go to for jobs and living and all this other stuff, without having to burden the taxpayers, those people. I imagine if I was a detective assigned to figure out crimes against humanity, against those migrants, I would actually want to start with those that actually had a final destination, people that they made contact with and said, I'm over here at this place with this facility, and then take it from there. But even still, the data should have been sent with those migrants. And those migrants should have already shouldn't have had those abuses and trespasses against them to begin with, especially all the way down to the children. I'm not saying that full-grown men should, suck it up buttercup. No, not by a long shot. I think everybody has a voice, and anybody that was abused, or if not trespassed, if not sexually trespassed on a sexual level, they really do need to have their voices heard. That stuff shouldn't have been going on to begin with. So, yeah, the reason why I brought all that up again is because these are all very serious aspects to consider and remember. Don't forget, this is what was going on throughout previous administrations. This is what more than likely is going on until Biden, Mayorkas, the other agencies, along with the volunteers and law enforcement, along with other political leaders, just like Beto, who I'm hoping becomes governor, to keep working hand in hand with everybody to actually make sure that these kinds of atrocities stop, to make sure that these kinds of crimes stop, to make sure, and if they do happen, then to bust them immediately, to catch them in the act, to catch them before it happens. My last post, I reminded everybody of how some of these traffickers were getting busted when they were approaching the asylums the asylums and holding facilities saying, hey, I still need to get paid. You know, they paid to get taken across the border. I'm supposed to get paid to take them to their destination. Those guys got busted before any kind of trafficking continued. And then to top it all off, when all of these things work hand in hand, and one of those techniques is providing the information that is needed, the data, the processed data that is needed, you know, you're reducing that underground business, that human trafficking business from taking place. You're busting them and you're saving lives. You're recovering, you're rescuing, you're saving lives. And this is exactly what I want my tax-paying dollars to go to. Why is that such a bad thing? How is that such a bad thing? To look at my law enforcement, my state officials, my political leaders, and all the agencies that are put to use to stopping traffickers, recovering, rescuing, and in some cases rehabilitating the victims of traffic, the ones that were trafficked, and restoring humanity off of my tax-paying dollars. Why is that such a stretch to understand that that's what I want? You know? How is that so difficult to figure out that that's what we want to see? That's what, not only what we want to see, but we want to factually happen. Okay? That we want factually happening. Okay? How is that such a bad thing to want that? Instead of this babbling bullcrap of what my current Texas governor is doing right now. People like my governor are doing right now. Suing Biden, saying he's not doing his job, coming down with millions of dollars out of that, our tax-paying dollars, for fees, claiming that he's going to build the wall, something that he hasn't worked on, completed, repaired, much less picked up off the ground. I'm talking about the parts that fell 1 year after they were already set up. You know, doing nothing on the wall, but rewarding people like Kennedy County for picking up dead bodies that died through dehydration after crossing the border and not surviving. Ergo, I mean, there no traffickers caught. To top it all off, there was no crime busters going on. Certainly no lives being saved. They were all they're finding them dead in their counties, in the barren areas of their counties. And they're getting paid $700,000 of our tax-paying dollars to scoop up the dead bodies and bury them in somewhere. You know? Not even doing autopsies. So we have to take their word for it that they weren't killed in any way, shape, or form. They were already dead when they got here. You know? Why in the world would I you know, try to avoid being frowned at for not only pointing this out, but stating I want that crap to stop. I don't want my tax-paying dollars to go to that. $700,000. It does not take $700,000. For $700,000, there better be an autopsy. They better be declared, you know, they better be dead by dehydration instead of you telling me, oh, take my word for it, they died by dehydration, you know? Same thing with McKinney County. As I've posted through previous posts as well. Yeah, McKinney County, I'm sorry. It's not McKinney. It's just Kinney, Kinney County. Same thing with Kennedy County, but with one N, Kenedy, Kennedy County. You know, they're all claiming that, you know, they're all claiming this and that and all this other stuff. They're getting big bucks. They're claiming invasion. They're getting at least $700,000 per county, and all they're doing are just burying bodies. They're not rescuing anybody. they're burying bodies that are already dead, you know, and it's just BS. It's BS. It's what Uvalde was doing before the shooting took place. They were all wanting big paychecks written out for them, you know, because of the migrants that were passing through, you know. All of them asylum seekers, with the exception of that one shooter that was born in North Dakota or South Dakota, and was what do you call it? Was bouncing in and out of the states with a druggy mom, you know. So I mean, it's just messed up. It is 100% messed up on how the law enforcement and the agencies here in the States, you know, would rather say there's an invasion going on, demand Greg Abbott declare an emergency, Greg Abbott suing the government, and then spreading this cheer around with all of them. Kinney County, I mean, they're the ones that said that they need a disaster declaration or invasion declaration made. They only have 8 deputies and they're overwhelmed. You know, which again, like I said in one of the previous posts, if it's an invasion, how come those 8 deputies aren't dead yet? You know? Because there's no reports of them getting killed. There's no reports of burnt crops. There's no reports of slaughtered cattle. There's no reports of burned barns. There's no reports of destroyed homes. There's no reports of dead farmers and their sons. There's no reports of violated and murder-raped wives and daughters. There's no reports of dogs shot. There's no reports of cats skinned. There's no reports of dead parakeets, not even Ozzy Osbourne style, where they got their head ripped off. You know, nothing. There's nothing like that. There's no cooked parrot or parakeets. You know, nothing. And yet at the same time, these same counties like Kinney County, Kennedy County, Uvalde, Del Rio, all of these guys are saying it's an invasion. It's an invasion. Help us, Governor Abbott. You know, help us through Operation Lone Star. Operation Lone Star is a program that was designed to keep us secure by building the wall. Not give money to counties that are scooping up dead migrants, and that's it. Through this so-called invasion that isn't even happening. I mean, you want to talk lawsuit abuse. But yeah, I mean, you got this stuff going on, and asylum seekers getting held in facilities, being treated and mistreated, being treated poorly and mistreated, in some cases sexually trespassed, getting data processed for the records keeping of Operation Lone Star. See, this is what Operation Lone Star is doing, blah, 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 blah. Thank you, Greg Abbott. The majority of my Texas believes this crap. And then you got Greg Abbott busting them over there without the information that they collected off of them. So the processes have to start all over again. And those that want their voices heard, that could tell what's going on, that could tell you and me what happened to them while in captivity here in Texas and other parts of the southwestern states, you know, they can't be heard. They can't have anything investigated. They can't have anything looked at. They can't have anything. They can't be heard. Every data that puts them into a place, a location, dealing with whatever group, law enforcement, dealing with whoever was in charge, ergo dealing with whoever it was that was doing all these abuses, that information is not available. See, you see the problem. There's a huge dilemma with that. And get this, they're getting away with it, all of these people that are doing this harm to these migrants, because they've got people like Greg Abbott that are saying you're safer. You're safer now because of me and my tactics. Again, despite the fact that, you know, trespasses are being done, abuses are being done, And data that was supposed to be, that data that was collected is not being processed and shared with the rest of the country, let alone New York and DC. You know, I'm not making any of this up. This is the bull crap that's going on. You know, you can see for yourself. I'm telling you these articles on where I'm getting the information from, and how all of this is pieced together, you know. But you know what? That's just me sharing this information with you. Anybody that's doing any actual investigation, big props goes to them. Again, I'm just the messenger. I'm just the guy that's passing the information down. I'm just the guy that's letting those reporters know that I'm at least reading their stuff, and that you can tell because of the information that I'm sharing with you on what they're revealing. You know, I'm letting them know that, you know, because, and big props go to them. The New York Post, New York Times, Washington Post, all these people, even Fox News did a couple of good ones. And all they were doing, now don't get me wrong, Fox News was like, look at this, 29 immigrants recovered from El Paso. Thank you, Mr. Biden. You know, which is, you know, you got to read between the lines in order to understand in El Paso, that's not Biden's doing, that's Beto's doing. And it's 29 migrants discovered, ergo 29 migrants recovered, rescued, and in some cases sent to rehabilitation. Because again, that stash house had no plumbing, no stove, no refrigerator, no air conditioning in El Paso. That rehabilitation indeed, you know, yeah, they were recovered. They weren't discovered, they were recovered. And they were rescued, you know. You can't survive out there without AC. Come on. But so you read between the lines, you see that, because I didn't really see that from many other posts. I saw that from Fox News. They're the ones that brought up the realization that there's still trafficked people, and that you know, they get caught, the immigrants get rescued, and all this stuff. Despite the fact that, you know, that news coverage was trying to, the article said it itself. It's not, I'm not just bad mouthing Fox News. The article themselves said it, that it's all Biden's fault, and this is all Biden's stuff, and this is what everybody's saying about Biden and all this other crap. Okay, that is true, but what everybody that wants to just hate is looking at is those words. People like me that take a step back and look at it is seeing recovered and rescued migrants. Whereas over here on this side of Texas, Governor Greg Abbott with his Operation Lone Star once again is doing bullcrap work by sending migrants, voiceless migrants, to New York and DC. And then under Operation Lone Star, is suing the government for a wall that isn't even being built, while having law enforcement arrest people. And again, I'm going to say it again, one of the most wildest arrests was a woman who got pulled over for speeding, had her car searched despite the fact that there was no probable cause, had one loose leaf of marijuana found in the glove box. In the glove box, she hadn't even taken it yet. It wasn't even in her system yet. One loose leaf weighing less than, it was 0.07 of a gram. One loose leaf marijuana. I mean, how much do you expect it to weigh? You know, but felony charges was thrown on this lady as an illegal alien drug smuggler. Okay, one loose leaf of marijuana, one loose leaf, you know. And then to top it all off, she wasn't even an immigrant. She wasn't even Latina. She was a white woman. She was a white woman American, and she was declared an illegal alien drug smuggler placed with felony charges. And it was all credited to Operation Lone Star in which Governor Greg Abbott would say, see, you're safe now. This kind of babbling. And get this, the majority of my Texas believes this crap. The majority of my Texas believes there's an invasion over in Kinney County where hundreds of thousands of dollars is going to those administrative and their 8 deputies to take on the invasion. Their words, the invasion, and they're all still alive since back in 2020 or 21, whenever it was 2021 when Operation Lone Star was declared, I think in April or May. And since then, they've been getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in checks provided for by Governor Greg Abbott, who's suing them. And again, no crime is being stopped. Traffickers are not being busted. Migrants are not being stopped. Asylum seekers are being thrown in holding facilities, data processed, and then bussed up to New York and DC without even their data being sent with them. Same thing with Kennedy County. Kennedy County is getting thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars checks, $700,000 to be more exact, just for picking up dead migrants. No traffickers are being busted. No migrants that have survived are being rescued, obviously, because they're only getting paid to pick up dead migrants. Count the heads and then tell Governor Greg Abbott, this is why we need help through the Operation Lone Star program, because of all these dead bodies. Which of course reminds you of the old West days where scalps were being done in order to root out any indigenous population off of the grounds, as well as any Native Americans that were hired to scalp frontiersmen, some of the original frontiersmen that started settling on Texas soil and other parts of the West, for all of those that were greedy enough to have them killed in order to take that land and write, fill out permits or whatever and make it legal to own it, Now, in Kennedy County in this day and age, it's not so much about owning the land. It's about getting $700,000 for a body count of dead migrants who, without an autopsy, we are to believe that they found them that way. Okay? And if any data goes up there, up to New York and DC, it's the simple fact that it's the ones that have a final destination already planned. They're not supposed to be in there. Some of them are glad to be there, but others already have final destination. That's the information that they got. And again, like the majority of America, not just Texas. I put the blame on Texas because this is my state. I'm saying the majority of Texas all the time. But let's just be honest. It's the majority of America that believes that this is what's going on and that we are safer in this manner. You're listening, you're looking at the politicians who are saying there's an invasion. You're looking at politicians who are pulling stunts and saying if the president could just do his job, this wouldn't be happening. And if the president hadn't started with, he has, but he hasn't, with Mayorkas, the agencies, the volunteer programs, and any political figure, which he hasn't. Technically, some of the political figures are at fault. I'm voting for Beto, but I really, 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 really wish that the guy never dropped the ball in saying Biden isn't doing anything. He should have already been there with Biden to work stuff out instead of mudslinging, okay? And that's what a lot of people are doing now. Anastasia, AOC, Bernie Sanders. They're all on the same side until now that Trump is gone and they have a voice still and very little responsibilities to deal with this kind of stuff. They're all saying Biden could have done better. Biden could have done better. Biden needs to step up. Biden doesn't do anything. Biden could have done, unless you're actually in the mud with him, you should really shut up. They lost my faith a long time ago. Don't get me wrong. I still respect them. I still respect on his time. I don't think AOC should be sexually harassed on the Capitol building steps like that one douchebag did. I don't believe Bernie Sanders should be hated for being this old guy, using his Jewish upbringing as a way to lure people in and all this stuff. The way the accusations are being said, his socialism and all this stuff. He's trying to destroy America. I don't think he should be mudslinging for that. His American socialism is nothing like every other socialist countries, where it's a yo-yo. It's on a spectrum where some of it is a success and others are complete failures. And then you got Sanders that's in charge of a tiny little state, and he's, how in the name of God is he supposed to be able to make it possible for the U.S.? He's not. We see it. We don't vote for him because of that. But despite the fact that he can make it happen for his little state that he's in charge of, good for him, But once he starts turning around, once he starts making two-faced gestures, like the way AOC did and all them, Biden could have done. The president could have done better. The president needs to do this. Once they do that, you lose all my hope for a better tomorrow. I respect you. I respect you for standing up to people like Trump, for standing up to corporate greed, to standing up to Wall Street when they were doing their crap. Destroying investors, thousands of investors, and walking away with profits that they gained. And they don't get jail time in any way, shape, or form. You guys on the socialist far left, extreme left, you made some good points. You're right. That shouldn't have happened. But to hear them talk about, this, to do nothing but join somebody like Biden to make sure that the goofiness stops, the crap that was done by the previous administration stops, just to turncoat and start spitting on Biden or any current administration. Let's say it was somebody else. Let's say it was somebody that I voted for, like Warren. I liked Elizabeth Warren. Anybody that makes Wall Street piss in their pants, and all of the banks go, "How dare you question my business?" When all she asked was, "Why do you keep all these fees and stuff like that, and yet keep demanding we provide more tax-paying dollars to you? Where's the money?" For them to go into such an uproar and demonize her and all this other crap and call her Antichrist and all this. Pocahontas is the Antichrist. She's trying to destroy America. That shit was balls. Okay, that shit was balls. I fucking respect that 100%. That's the reason why I wanted to vote. I wanted her to be the Democratic primary, and I wanted her to win the presidency. But she didn't. She got outvoted, and Biden wound up taking it. And this is what we got right now. Work with it, please. Work with it. Let him work with you guys. Don't do any of this crap, I'm still voting for Beto, but I really wish that he wouldn't do this two-faced crap that AOC and Bernie Sanders did. I really need him to hang in there and hang tough. Okay? So that's my spiel. This article is not so much about some kind of atrocity. It's actually about a bunch of little pesky things that the right are currently doing, the conservative, the right wings are currently doing. It's about the minute dumbassery, pain in the ass stuff. That's again minute and dumbassery. If I could get away with saying that as a description. It's what's going on. That's what he's doing, and it's a pain in the ass. and it leads to serious complications, especially when it comes to finding justice. And it has to stop sooner or later. One day it will. We just got to hang in there. We got to be tough. We got to hang in there ourselves. We got to encourage our political leaders to be a unified front at the very least, if not actually unified, and work together and pray together and just move together on annihilating all the bull crap that's going on with these pesky things that the opposition is doing. And that's pretty much it right there. New York City New York City needs info on migrants now, or faces being totally overwhelmed. That's the title of this particular story, and I gotta admit that key word being information. That's the key word to bear in mind and to remember about what's going on and how it's being so complicated. It's being so complicated because of the lack of cooperation and the lack of collaboration. Sharing information is one of those things. It's a pain in the butt when you got somebody like my worthless governor, Greg Abbott, doing this crap all over again, or doing this crap from the very beginning and having these complications up to now. It's just a pain in the booty. It's just a pain to see. So that's it for now. I had my share of cup of coffee. I might have to take a couple of aspirin. But nevertheless, after sharing this information, after finally letting out, I technically do feel better. And I hope everybody, has a voice out there, wants to express your voice. By all means, do so. Start up a podcast of your own if you want. I'll listen to you, But yeah, I mean, just, voice your opinion out there, especially if it doesn't involve following the same old rhetoric and going under somebody else's propaganda, dude, you really should take a step back and speak from the mind of the person that's taking a step back and looking at things. Because I can tell you right here and now, nobody on the left or right is saying what I'm saying. You see it on the media, you see it alone, you see it when they're all stating a rescue attempt is being made, but at how much of the taxpayers' expense? How many people are they really rescuing? Those are media tactics to try to lure you to watch them. I'm saying 29 migrants got rescued. And for the record, in El Paso, that very same city, just 3 months back in May, I think it was May 14th, 70 kids were rescued. 70 kids that were abducted and kidnapped and traded, smuggled, trafficked. Okay? 70 children that were trafficked. Okay? They got recovered and rescued. And more than likely, almost all of them had to go through rehabilitation in order to transition back into the world from these awful experiences. Okay, that also happened in El Paso. Hence the reason why I'm still voting for Beto. Again, I just wish he wouldn't do these two-faced talks. Stuff that pleases the media, the mainstream media, as opposed to us, you and me. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I hope that you guys, throw your voices out there, especially if you're in tune with what's going on, and you could see these good things as well as the bad, instead of whatever drama crap that's going on through mainstream media. Okay. There's a lot of opinion makers out there, a lot of people that I give big props to, and I hope that they actually keep on doing what they're doing, because they're doing a hell of a better job than I am, especially concerning the scandals and the social issues and international level stuff, global concerns you know, China in Focus is great on exploiting all the crap that's going on intercontinentally with China. You know, Brandon Tyler Cohen and Dollarmore Daily, they're pretty good with their investigative searches, as well as the Young Turks. You know, and don't get me wrong, the Young Turks still does their outrageous, you know, yellings and stuff like that. And from their point of view, almost no differently than anybody on the Fox News side or conservative reporting, you know. That being said, when it comes to who's throwing out the most facts, who's actually leaning on more factual aspects, sorry, the Young Turks takes the cake. You know, they're better at it, at going straight for the facts. You just have to tolerate their comments or their outrageous, you know, I am shocked and this is bull crap and, oh, you got these guys doing this and that and all this other stuff and everything, you know. That happens, yeah. But they tend to do that after they've stated the facts of what's going on, you know. Others like Dollarmore Daily, you know, love him. He's great to watch. BTC, you know, great to watch. You know, I can't think of everybody else on the top of my head. Bo of the Fifth Column, Fair and Balanced. You know, one is a lot more conservative in the way he talks, but you get what he's saying. He does this out of his shed, like the way I do out of my car. You know, his studio is his tool shed. My studio is my car on my lunch break. And I respect that. I respect that. Bo of the Fifth Column. I respect that. You know, he at least gets to wear a change of clothes. I'm here in what I wear as a uniform, so to say, as a driver's uniform, and it's always going to be a collared short sleeve shirt and my favorite color, which is black. Yeah, so you know, he at least gets to wear his colored different types of shirts and logo shirts. Respect, you know, I'm a little jealous, but that's beside the point. Fair and Balanced, those two words, which Farron and the last word balanced, real catchy, real clever. I like it. He's also very well with the thing. He's got a studio and he's got all these postings of articles that he's actually reading, let you read along them and stuff like that. I am really not tech savvy or studio savvy. I wouldn't know how to operate it even if I had my studio. I've never, you know, been trained on any of that stuff, so it's easy for me to just sit here and just post my comments and stuff. But if anything, give big props to all of those people, because they're the ones that are actually doing investigation, at least investigative reporting, if not actual journalistic reporting, you know, some more so than others, you know. And me, again, I'm your guy at the water cooler, you know. I'm the guy at your, you know, sharing the drinks around the barbecue. I'm the guy at your bus stop entertaining everybody in there, dropping the knowledge that I know on there. I'm the guy that's actually sharing information with you here in the rideshare driver's car, okay? I'm the guy that's sharing this information with you guys. I did it earlier this morning as well. In fact, this same topic before I even started broadcasting. I started at 4 in the morning and I'm now broadcasting at 8 on my break time, you know, my coffee break. So that's the long and the short of it, which is mostly long as I'm looking at the clock. I've just done an hour, and I hate jumbling like this on every single post. I hate jumbling all this info and intel. But I have to, given the fact that it all goes hand in hand with everything that I've done previously up to now. You know, if you were to go through my posts last week, last month, last year, you'd see that most of my knowledge that I've dropped on you guys in this day and age was mostly guesswork. And it isn't until the next article, the next happening, or the next occurring occurs that I can come out and say, see, I was right. I told you, look at this. This is great. Despite the fact that it's bad news or something, but I'm just happy to show it to you because of I'm happy to relay the message because of the simple fact that before all of this, it was nothing but guesswork, And again, big props go to those that are actually doing this. Who knows how the outcome is going to be with Trump? People are stating that in some of the titles of their things. Trump is in trouble. Trump is in legal trouble. He might be, say bye-bye to Trump and all this. They don't know if that's true. He's been accused of this and that, and he's gotten out through some leeway, loophole, technicality from stuff that, any one of us would have been thrown in jail for, But we don't know that this is the final nail to the coffin, They don't know it. But I'm giving them props nevertheless, because they're the ones that are diving in and tackling the issue. I'm sort of staying away from it, telling you, what's going on over here in Texas, I'm over here sharing this. I'm playing it safe in my zone, Everybody else, you got to give props to them. Brian Tyler Cohen, Fair and Balanced and Dollar More Daily and the Young Turks and, all of them, you got to show props to all of them that are actually diving into this stuff, and they at least also try to let you buy a shirt off of them. They got these really cool shirts with logos on them and stuff. One of my favorites was I went to Mar-a-Lago and all I got out of it was nuclear codes, I thought that was hilarious. I wanted to buy that shirt. Right now, I'm a little behind on some payments, so I got to focus in on that. But it's still a couple of months away from Christmas, so I might treat myself to one of those. But yeah, I mean, you respond and support them and all that good stuff. And remember, I'm just the guy that's down here in the mud with you guys and throwing my opinions and sharing my concerns. And I have no problem with hearing you guys out as well. Throw out your opinions. I put my email address on every one of these posts. So go ahead and email me your podcast, and let me know if you want me to talk about it. Currently, I really don't even know if I have permission to talk about the podcasters that I'm supporting. Telling you to support, I don't really know if I have any permission to mention them yet on my podcast, so but I haven't gotten any complaints yet. So we really need to voice our concern. We really need to have more of us stepping up, talking about what's going on your end of this, on the other side of this screen, the way I am here in Texas, in San Antonio, because what's going on here isn't exactly what's going on in Florida. What's going on over here isn't exactly what's going on in Cali. What's going on over here isn't exactly going on in Chicago and New York, or Dakota, any of the Dakotas, Wyoming. I really hope that you guys who are receiving this, actually build the idea of doing it, even if it's just like this, even if it's just off of your phone, out of your work shed, out of your car, out of your lobby, out of a hobby room, out of your favorite hangout. Do that. Let us know. Let me know what's going on your neck of the woods. Let everybody else know what's going on your neck of the woods. Voice your concerns. Let's hear your voice. Okay. This is Chris with Chris's Comments, signing out. Y'all take care. Tomorrow's Monday, a brand new work week, and let's try to recuperate today and enjoy ourselves tomorrow. Okay, let's have a great work week today. I hope everybody was safe, and I hope everybody did the safety things when you're going out. You might not be able to stop that gunman from way down the alleyway, but if you know your surroundings, you'll know where to duck and hide, or which wall to stand behind. once the shooting starts, and take your family with you, and your friends, take cover. Stay safe out there, because it's been a long time since there was a guy with the trench coat and a shotgun underneath it on a hot summer's night. It's been a while since a guy like that ever presented himself, that obvious of a killer. They've been shooting from a long distance these days. They've been shooting from distances. They've been shooting from rooftops. They've been shooting from just the other side of the streets. So, it's been a while since we had them that obvious. They've been doing these sneak attack things. One of them dressed up as a woman. He was already a bitch. And fired on top of a rooftop, So y'all keep taking care of yourself. Keep remember using the buddy system. Keep being aware of your surroundings. Remember, if you're not near the gunman, make sure to use a place that you can duck and hide. Keep looking at your surroundings. Look at a place and think to yourself, where's a good place to duck and hide should there be a gunman? Even if that never happens, that's beside the point. You're being safe, And if you're anywhere near the gunman, I hope you get to knock his ass out. No differently than 2000. What year was that? I think it was 2016, when South San Antonio, this guy with a shotgun started shooting at a church, went in to kill his wife, who was divorcing him because she's got tired of him abusing her. And he started shooting in the church, when one unarmed churchgoer punched him, startling the gunman, and the gunman ran out of the church, getting shot at by a neighbor across the street who heard the gunshots when he first started charging into the church. The neighbor across the street of that church grabbed an AR-15 out of his gun safe and started shooting at the gunman with his shotgun. The gunman and his shotgun. So the gunman panicked, jumped into his vehicle, and started to drive away. The armed gunman neighbor and the unarmed churchgoer got into a vehicle. I forget which one, whose vehicle, but they gave chase after the gunman that shot up the church, forcing him off the road. And because he didn't want to go to prison, he blasted his brains out in his car, And that's what I'm talking about. Any of you out there that are close to a gunman, I hope you get to do what we San Antonians would do, and that's knock the crap out of the asshole, even if we don't have a gun in our own possession. I hope you get to experience what it's like to be a San Antonian, and that gunman, and all that good stuff, and just have him on the run to the point to where he has no choice but to blast his own damn brains out. But again, if you're not anywhere near it, just remember to be aware of your surroundings and know where to grab your wife and your kid, or if you're a single mom or a mom and a mom, just know where to grab your other half and your children to go hide somewhere, to duck and cover or run behind a wall, out of sight where the gunman can't see you anymore, and again, it's usually going to be somebody that's at a distance in this day and age. It's been a long time since somebody, stood and stared with a gun in his hand and just looked at the crowd before lifting the gun and starting shooting, It's been a long time since they were that obvious. They're a lot more lone wolf these days. So again, please be careful. Use the buddy system. Stay safe out there and enjoy your Sunday. And don't forget, tomorrow's a brand new work week. Let's start with a brand new work week. A great one. So that's it for today. Y'all take care. Y'all take it easy. This is Chris with Chris's Comments, signing out.